Hi there. So I did my book report on Jancis Robinson, Confessions of a Wine Lover. And pretty much the book goes into a lot of detail about how Jancis Robinson got to where she is. Um, Started off, she as a young girl, and she had her first interest in wine um, when she was about 15 years old. She was very conscious of her weight, and she began to almost become anorexic until her parents kind of caught on. They obviously put an end to it, and some strange way she became like an obsessive cook. So she was really interested in food. Um, Kept on cooking and stuff through school. Eventually landed her first job, and now she considers wine to be a liquid food. Um, because there's so much you can get from wine that she sees in food as well. So it paired pretty well. Her first job that she got was in Italy. She left her family at the age of 18 and moved to Italy to be pretty much a maid for a big resort in Italy. And she talks about how she learned so much from being there and the different culture. Because where she was born in England, there's a lot more different rules and stuff. And she touched on a big point where during lunch or her meal, uh, wine was free. Any wine that the hotel or resort had was free, but she had to pay for water. And she thought that was really interesting. And so she ended up drinking a whole lot of wine. And that kind of got her interested in wine more, tasting it more, seeing what she liked, what she didn't like. Um, Following that, she moved to um, New York and was working at a bar as a kind of like a bar back, I guess you'd say. But she was really still interested in wine, so she was still helping out people with that for as much as she could. She didn't really have learned a lot yet. Um, she took one of her accreditations, so became like a certified som. But then, not too long after that, she thought that was really too easy, and decided to go for the next level. Ended up getting it. Following that, she applied for a job as an assistant. They titled it a young assistant editor for a wine magazine that was coming out. So she thought that she wasn't very qualified for that, but she tried anyways. Um, and at the interview, they pretty much told her, "You're not qualified. You're not a good writer, and you don't know that much about wine, but you have this amazing talent about you that's able to organize and learn quickly." So she ended up getting the job over a bunch of different applicants that she was really surprised about. That pushed her more to go for that higher level as a som. So in 1984, she became a master of wine. And then later on in the book, it goes into talking about how she'd go on trips to different wineries and stuff like that. So she makes a big emphasis on how she went to the Gallo winery and met with Ernest Gallo, who's one of the brothers that owns the winery. And she pretty much is interviewing him. Everything's going great, but they're very stubborn people, she says. And she asked Ernest, what was that one thing? What was that turning point in the Gallo Winery, situation that made that you started making profit? What was that turning point? And I guess the Ernest started laughing um, at her, and she was kind of like confused. And he says that profit, we've never worked for profit. We've always worked to make good wine and enjoy ourselves. And Jancis Robinson like touches like a lot on it, that it was such a big thing that for somebody to say that in her life, it made her think of wine differently and the whole industry itself, and how some of the most successful wineries and stuff like that don't make their wine to make profit. They make it to make good wine. Because she talks about how it's so different here in the U.S. that everybody they focus on making money a lot more than they do making good wine. Because not in the U.S., but it's in the culture in most countries outside of the United States. It's what the family has been around all their lives, and it's what makes their family, their family. Um, so then, following that, she became a writer. She made a couple different books. She had her first book she had before she became even a psalm, and it didn't really get a whole lot of attention. It was called Vines, Grapes, and Wine, and it didn't get very much attention at all. She did it when she was just in her normal schooling days. It was kind of like just her, I don't know, her interest in writing. But once she started writing for that editorial, she got a lot of publicity because she got her psalm accreditation, became a master while she was writing for them. Then she started putting out the Oxford Companion to Wine, which is a huge hit. Everybody in the world of wine has read that book, which put her on top of the world pretty much. Then she later wrote the World Atlas of Wine, which I haven't read yet, but I heard it's amazing. And then she later left that editorial to do her own things, editing books and doing tastings, a bunch of different things in the wine world, but just differently, not part of that editorial itself. She still has her own article now, and she has a huge website where she posts literally everything about wine in the most detailed yet I don't know, she has a very different writing style, and it's very interesting, but she touches on that a lot, on how that's been always her dream to make her own website, or simply just a book that everybody can read and fall back on. She wanted to be that leader in the wine world, and I definitely think she's achieved that and is continuing to achieve it. Every single article she puts out is amazing. But yeah, that's my summary of the book, Confessions of a Wine Lover.